14th, 2021. We were at the park today, and by the time I got to the park, the sunlight was so high in like omicrons and gamma waves. I think they call it ultraviolet. UV light is ultraviolet light. It feels like ultraviolet light. I mentioned to Sophia that it felt like living in a fluorescent tube, like the kind that they used to hang in the ceilings when we were kids in school. That I didn't really have a vocabulary for what, like it feels hot, but it's not that kind of hot. My face is burning, but again, it's more of like a chemical burn peel. And I mentioned to her about the two different natural gas signature changes that I had noticed and tried reporting in. That it's not just the sun, it's also natural gas changes. But there's some kind of chemical mixture, because even at the radiological park, named Marie Curie Park, sometimes the signature and it feels different than when I'm out later or earlier on the boulevard, on Bell Boulevard, walking with my umbrella. So today, I really kept my umbrella up a long time. Normally I put it down and I walk with it, but today I had to put it up because my face down around this region still right now is burning. I don't know how to relieve my face of this signature chemical burn. I don't know who to ask. I stopped on my way home. There were two teenagers at the front of the elementary school skateboarding. I stopped to ask them, I said, if I said the words like this, I just felt like the sun was so hot today that it almost felt like a fluorescent tube, the kind they have in the lighting, the ceiling lighting. Like, would that make sense to you? But I don't think they quite heard me that far away in their whatever moment that was. Because he stopped skateboarding. He did walk into the sunlight because they were standing in a shaded portion. And the yard was mostly shaded. And he stood in the sunlight for a moment, and he goes, no, it feels good. And I'm like, right, no, I know, sometimes that's what you guys say. I'm like, all right. I was like, no, I wanted your opinion. I was like, all right, thank you. Because I know, again, like, I know sometimes their instincts are just shut down or almost like tuned to turn a blind eye in some cognitive dissonance, but I don't ever really know why in an unbeseeched and unbeknownst to my behest prior to the day arriving. I wouldn't have let any of this transpire this way. And then I have to think about this. So that happened. And then as I was walking home, there was I call it a gaggle, I suppose, a grouping of NYPD gentlemen, officers. They were smoking cigars. I think I smelled cigar, but I didn't see it. And as I walk, I said to them, I said, hello, gentlemen. I was like, this, and I had the umbrella open, the green and black one. So I said to them, I said, the sun for me today just feels like living in a fluorescent tube. I was like, it is so unpleasant. I said, I hope you all have a good day, and I walked past and by. But there was a Cisco delivery truck, SYSCO, that was driving down Northern Boulevard, which had, I call it jumping the light. So he was blocking the entire walkway. So now the light changed. I'm with Nucci. I've got officers, two police cars coming out from their section. I don't know which direction they're going, but I've got the Cisco long hauler blocking my way, and then I'm like trying to like figure out a way to get around it, and then I do diagonal, hoping and watching for oncoming traffic that they weren't trying to cut around the truck. So that happened. But there's something that needs to be checked and cross-referenced in weather pattern today in Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. And Costa mentioned something about, I've never heard this before, American Ninja Warrior something or other. I have no idea what that's about. And they were playing Pokemon, well, not playing Pokemon, they just look at their cards and then get, like, they scream with excitement at each other, and whatever the heck that means. But there were two, what I've been introduced to a gentleman around here called Thomas Lee, who I ate with at Chicken Lovers. And he had bought me dinner one night, which I thought was really nice. I had also given him my resume, so he knew I was legitimately looking for employment. I just didn't know. I didn't know what was available. And he referred to himself as South Korean. So with that, and staying out of restaurant territory, because I will be honest with you, I have seen some people in what they call the North America. There's like four personalities of Americans, I swear. That's where I go: North, Central, South, and then the Latin. But they present that Japanese is where sushi is artistry and whatever. They never mention Korean or any other Asian whatever. I have four Asian references in Bayside Station. I have Korean, I have Chinese, I have Taiwanese, and I have Japanese. Those are my four. Then I have some kind of Mediterranean Spanish. I have some kind of modern Mexican. I have something Cuban, but looks like it has a Puerto Rican flag. I'm just saying, but the people look, I don't know what. And then I've got a Venezuelan flag, but says Colombian on the top of the chicken place somewhere else in Bayside, within my block radius, with employees that look totally different than what has been presenting itself as actually just moving here from Colombia. So it gets really confusing for me, but Thomas Lee was a reference. He said he was Korean, although the guy who runs the sushi artistry of Japanese whatever says, the assumption would be he would be Japanese while he's doing sushi artistry, but he looked very Korean-like, I would say. But Thomas Lee is what I've also seen on television presented as possibly North Korean, is the sounds the clicks make over here on the broadcasting. So Thomas Lee said he was South Korean with his look and his sound. So now, two kids that looked like they could be related to Thomas Lee that I had spent like face-to-face like question time with. Not that I had many questions, I just was trying to learn and be polite, but not be nosy or pushy. So two relatives that looked like they could be relatives of his showed up today. One was wearing red and green, and he carried 3 Arizona iced tea, 2 cans, 1 bottle, and a bag of Lay's, Lays, potato chips, that in a green bag that was sour cream and onion. They came with a backpack, and they were just, and the other relative looking was navy blue top and bottom. So they were kind of circling around my son while he was with his friends. Alan was there too. Alan is the boy who looks more related to Japanese, which is not Japanese, because he has a palette paint change on his portrait. But he was wearing socks that went mid-calf in some super action hero with red sneakers. And he was in the mix as well, which was interesting because my son is so non-observant of all of this excess drama going on in the park. He's just there in a moment, as I was, with some cards to spend some social time, I suppose, but not in any kind of order. I mean, in this disorganized chaos while his mom is being radiologically damaged and his proper genetic possessor is not amongst us to protect us and inform us and dissuade us from whatever and help care for us. I mean, there is possession involved in this, and at the moment, 9/10 has possession of our daily attention. It's really annoying. I don't know how to get to the 1/10, which is why I told the 111th precinct that ERIK is the only science principal that's ever announced he was a science principal in my presence. I believe him, ERIK. I don't know if he went by ERIC. I have him programmed in my phone as ERIK. And I took the photo down of the match and I switched it around to World Gym. So this way, because I don't know how it got combined at some point in my contacts. It's just, this technology is really annoying. I met a girl at Crave last night. She had EMT on the back. I'm like, what does T stand for? So she said technician. I said, right. I said, if I had my way, I would say trauma, because technician gets to be really confusing for the Europeans. I was like, but again, I was overruled at some point when I woke up. I was like, and here we are. And I was like, but I did notice normally the eye just glazes over slight alphabet differences between EMS and EMT. So I asked her what the difference was, and she said some are paramedic. I heard an argument today also on the View, which I was from a distance. Something about Joe Rogan being a comedian and some Sanjay Gupta being like a doctor. Right, here's the thing. In geological surveying, none of you are more important than the other, and none of you have done your job properly. All you've done is spin yourself into a tizzy and not given a shit about the planet and what you actually needed to do to save us all. So the fact that the View was going on and on about how they're not taking comedians' answers or whatever over doctors, I'm like, I'm looking at the doctor and it's a problem. Because they're not allowed to touch or probe or play around with DNA sequencing. And nobody's really talking about that, and it's causing even more secrecy and big genetic, like, disease disturbances, and that's another big problem. And I don't even know if people like Joe Rogan are getting, like, the proper information in order to realign himself. And then they're like, oh, Joe Rogan's a hypocrite. And I'm like, do you assholes and idiots realize poor Joe has booked studio time? The studio has relationships with the dumb fucking useless from however long ago they made all the wrong decisions. And Joe doesn't have his own studio, so he has to, like, show up or he has to show up and deal with his own studio that's tied to some money he already took from the wrong money laundering company in the big dysfunction and the big criminal organization. And then he's got to try to keep himself like healthy and safe and in the right direction, because nobody really is talking about what went wrong, how we got here, and what we have to do in order to actually correct climate change, because everybody knows somebody, and everybody's more important than the actual players involved that actually needed help, that are really easy to work with and really easy to tell if you're doing a good job or not. Seriously. There's gigantic holes in time and space, and that amount of light is not healthy. Really simple. It looks like I'm on a movie set for like a UFO, and that's where the spaceship is. I swear to God. Like, if you're smoking pot right now and watching the video, this makes so much sense. But then, like, you get, like, the uber intellect that, like, I don't know. I think of Sunny Hostin. I don't really have a really great whatever. Like, she rolls her eyes and, like, oh, she's so better than everybody else, kind of. That's the feel I get off of her anyway. So now she's a problem because she's like, oh, they smoke pot. Oh. Geological survey, mine will take that. Right, got it. Okay, here's the thing. We tell you what you can and can't accept. Done. Why is this so difficult to correct? Star 1978, star 8378. I'm actually doing the geological survey myself because all of you have rendered yourself and your opinions absolutely worthless and useless with no value added or given, because the world is a more dangerous place since you all got involved. Last 2 generations. Minimum. Star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cataruza. It's October 14th, 2021. In Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. I don't care if you've never touched pot, you've never touched alcohol. You are just as important. If you're on fixing what we need to get done, great. You smoke pot every day, you drink every day, but you can still function in some capacity to get some tasks done to help out those that can keep themselves whatever, and you work together in a nice manner, great. I only have a problem when you start throwing in that displaced anger, and now all of a sudden it becomes like you actually think you're worth more than you really are, because if you're not working with the grain, means you're working against it, and now we got big issues. And I don't know who twisted the grain along the way. That's unclear to me at this time. I'm working in ore debris field. I said to my son, I said to Anthony, I was like, I don't know which one of the 4 American personalities you're wearing right now. I was like, but I'm not appreciative of the look, son. I was like, because it's just, he's my first 3 children. I'm the proudest mother when they're with me and the way that we act together. I cannot speak when they get to be around Jason and when he totally dishonors me, and how their story changes, along with Linda and Lou and Tia Freo and that 4-pack of wolves. That is a disgusting American nuance that I don't have anything nice to say about. But this is what all of the really helpful people in the world have created, to not have their own shit reflected upon, so we can actually clean stuff up and take care of business. Star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cataruza.